This is wild. The Toronto Raptors are not willing to include Jakob Poeltl in a trade for Kevin Durant. Sportsnet's Michael Grange was on the Fan 590, and he said if they could get Kevin Durant at a bargain, I'm sure they will try to do it, but I can say with a lot of confidence, there is less than 0% chance that Jakob Poeltl will get traded in a deal for Kevin Durant. And this is significant. This, in fact, changes everything for the Toronto Raptors because Jakob Poeltl would have been a key salary in making a Kevin Durant to Toronto Raptors deal work. So now, what does this mean? We're going to take a look at it, guys. Do me a solid, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and ring the bell for more so you stay notified on all of the videos that I post this offseason. So Grange, not only did he say that on the Fan 590, but he dropped some other interesting tidbits in a piece he put out on sportsnet.ca. Grange basically set down that the Raptors aren't trading Poeltl. Multiple sources have confirmed to me that Raptors center Jakob Poeltl will not be part of any deal. However, unlikely a Raptors-Suns deal might be centered around Durant. The Suns were asking for Poeltl at the trade deadline and got a firm no back then, but that hasn't stopped them from asking, apparently, Grange said. So that's very interesting. It seems like the Suns really want Poeltl, and who knows, if the Raptors were willing to include Poeltl, a deal probably would have already been done. And Grange goes on to say here, Toronto's goal this summer is simple. Build a roster competitive enough to at least have a puncher's chance at reaching the conference finals and beyond next season. Wow, so that was kind of the feeling we got based on all of the reports that have come out and the Raptors looking for that big fish. It seems like the patience has run out. This Raptors team, they want to put together a roster that's going to go out there and compete. They're looking at what Indiana's doing. They're looking at the landscape of the Eastern Conference and Masai Ujiri wanting to be aggressive. The question is, how is he going to be aggressive? Of course, Giannis is not on the market. A Kevin Durant trade seems unlikely at this point. We'll get into the reasons why in just a minute. And there aren't really other big names that are being linked to the Raptors. I mean, John Moran is one. The Raptors are the betting favorite to acquire him, but who knows how a deal like that would get done. And then another thing that Grange alludes to in his piece, which is the obvious, of course, if the Raptors are trying to be competitive, Jakob Poeltl is essential to that. And we saw how important Poeltl is to this team. They were a weaker team when he didn't play and a far better team when he did play. And Grange saying a more likely scenario is that the Raptors reach a contract extension with Poeltl sooner rather than later, with the structure and timing designed to offer the club flexibility as they build out a competitive roster. So Poeltl's actually eligible for a 3-year, $88.2 million extension if he opts into the final year of his current deal, or a 4-year, $121.8 million extension if he opts out and signs a new contract starting this season. Opting into the final year of his current $19.5 million deal would give the Raptors some additional cap flexibility for any acquisitions they might want to pursue this summer. So that's an important note and piece in all of this. So yeah, Poeltl's not going anywhere. So I think that's big because that effectively makes it incredibly difficult and very unlikely for the Raptors to pull off a trade now for Kevin Durant. That Jakob Poeltl salary, it would have been huge in orchestrating a deal. Of course, the mock trade that was always brought up and is a really good deal, I think, is Poeltl, RJ Barrett, and number 9. But I even said it in previous videos, I wasn't a fan of that deal just from the notion that you're giving up your only viable center on the roster. Like, I know people were pissed about Barrett and the pick. For me, it was actually Poeltl. It was actually giving up a center because we remember like how bad this team is without a center, and we see the sample size of the Raptors with a healthy Poeltl. He does make a huge difference. He brings a lot of value, and trading him for Durant, how are you going to compete after? Like, you need a center on this roster. So now that that is out of the way, how are the Raptors going to get a Durant deal done? It's tough. Like, you can trade Brandon Ingram, but you can't trade him until August. And basically all arrows are pointing at the Suns wanting to get a Durant deal done before the draft or as soon as possible. So that's way too far out for that to even be entertained. And why would the Raptors trade Brandon Ingram for Durant? That doesn't make any sense. The other possibility is if the Raptors trade Scottie Barnes, but obviously they're not doing that. You didn't trade Scottie Barnes for Durant then. Why on earth would you trade Scottie Barnes for Durant now, who is 36 on an expiring deal? And then the last possibility is you can trade IQ and RJ, but you can't do it one-on-one with the Suns. It wouldn't work. The Suns can't take on all of that salary, so you would have to get a third team involved. So, sending on over IQ and number 9 in the Suns, and then Barrett goes somewhere else, and then you get Durant. But even in that possibility, then you're without a point guard if you're giving up 2 starters, 2 guys in IQ and Barrett in that situation. So however you slice it, a deal seems very, very unlikely. And I just don't see the Raptors trading for Durant at this point, especially knowing this, that they are not wanting to trade Poeltl. Grange did confirm that the Raptors are monitoring the Durant marketplace, but as he said, unless they can somehow pull this off and it's a bargain, I just don't see it happening. And again, the avenue in which you would take to have a deal done, it's not there. It really is not there. You're not trading Brandon Ingram. You're not trading Scottie Barnes. The RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley trade would have to include a third team, but again, you're surrendering a point guard, so then you're going to have that missing. Yeah, you can say you throw second-year player Jamal Shed, but then you're missing a backup, and that's a lot to ask of Shed. So I just don't see it happening. The Raptors would be better off trying to navigate for another younger star. What the Orlando Magic did, for example, getting a Desmond Bane. I would absolutely love a move like that for the Toronto Raptors. Obviously, they gave up a ton of first-round picks, but a younger player who's who's got more years on his contract, who fits the timeline, I think that's the play. Like, going the Durant route, not only is it unlikely at this point, but it just doesn't make sense from a timeline standpoint. So I think this is a big occurrence. I didn't think that Jakob Poeltl would be deemed an untouchable from the Raptors side of things in this potential trade for Kevin Durant, but yeah, we learned it. The Raptors are not trading Jakob Poeltl, and I just don't see how a deal gets done at this point. So we'll see what happens. We'll see who ultimately wins the Kevin Durant sweepstakes, but don't expect the Raptors to be the winner of those sweepstakes. We got the draft coming up next week. Maybe the Raptors are just going to hold on to it, draft the best player, and then after that, they'll see if they can get aggressive with another deal, another move into the summer. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Drop a like in the video. It's Luke signing off. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you all again in the next one.